I'm a Sansei. I grew up on the west coast of Vancouver Island, and my grandfather and my father came there because of fishing opportunities. My family is a fisherman family, and we come from Wakayama-ken in Japan, a little town everyone knows about on the west coast called Miyomura, or Amerikamura, where lots and lots of my relatives and people came here to fish. So I'm a Canadian that is proudly of Japanese ancestry. I work for the Clean Energy Association. Our members are companies that produce wind power, small hydropower, biomass, biogas, a little bit of natural gas. Our members sell power to BC Hydro that comes on the grid, so about 20% of the power coming through the wires comes from my members. So we are the private sector producers of power in BC, and I'm their executive director of this little organization. I'm one of those guys that comes out of the, I guess, the late 60s, 1970s, that never really had a career path in mind. My time in university, which was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot, was to drink a lot of beer, play a little bit of guitar, play a little bit of rugby, chase some girls, and I had no career in mind. And I kept going in school, and so it became either you become a university professor and a researcher, or you do something else. And through the years, I've always stayed involved in university teaching, a little bit of research, but I didn't really want to become a full-time academic. So I've done odd jobs. I've worked for the governments, both federally, provincially. I've worked in fisheries. I've worked in the private sector. I've worked as a consultant. I've worked in the not-for-profit sector. So I've worked in fish and fisheries. I've worked with Aboriginal people and their issues. And so most recently, I find myself involved working in clean energy. I don't know what I'll do next. In British Columbia, we have some of the best wind resources in North America. Up in the northeast, Peace River country, parts of the coast, and northern Vancouver Island. Having said that, having transmission lines to bring the power to where it's needed, and the big power user in BC is the Lower Mainland, where the big city is in that. So by saying you have good wind resources doesn't mean that you can get it there cheaply. And if it costs a lot of money to build transmission lines, maybe that's not the best source. So over time, as you build transmission, that wind becomes more effective and usable. We have waste to energy. There are biomass plants that use food waste, whatever. They're small, but they have a role to play, and they're closer to where the energy is needed. I mean, we produce a lot of waste in Greater Vancouver. Those can be turned to energy sources. So let's do those immediately. Over time, as transmission is built, let's bring in more hydro and more wind as we go. So to your question about what is the most efficient and effective, it really depends on the circumstance and the time. And over time, I think we want to develop smart grids, better transmission, more computerized switching, so that wind doesn't blow all the time, but it could be blowing on the coast, but maybe not blowing in the interior. With sophisticated computer switching, it becomes very firm energy. So there's all kinds of opportunities as we go forward for all renewable fuels.